Seamus Bruner, the author of Control Oligarchs and director at the Research and Government Accountability Institute, and Vicky Ward, the founder of the Vicky Ward Investigates newsletter on Substack, who obviously has been following Jeffrey Epstein for probably close to 20 years now. Vicky, I'll go to you first on this. I mean, did I miss anything? And is there any more clear answers than anything I discussed?
Unfortunately, no. And I do think that we do need answers about the men. You know, I sat through Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, and I wrote about how incredibly frustrating it was to see these flight logs with redactions of all these names of all these men. And at the end of the day, the only person who has paid a price for helping Jeffrey Epstein is Ghislaine Maxwell. And, you know, I have said again and again, where are the men? Jeffrey Epstein was enabled by an ecosystem of rich, powerful men. We need to know who they are. I do think, you know, this goes to how our country is run. I actually find myself in an unusual position of agreeing with Ted Cruz. I think it's really important that we get to the bottom of this. I have looked into this for 20 years, and I still don't have all the answers.
Yeah, and that's crazy. After 20 years, you can't find the answers in that. But Seamus, you're also a bit immensely involved in investigating a number of things, including something like this. How is it that we have U.S. senators calling for something as simple as a flight log for somebody who's dead, and we can't even get those?
Yeah, God bless you, Carl, for covering this important issue. And I applaud Vicky for her work. And I applaud Senator Blackburn for calling for the flight logs. Here's the thing. The flight logs are circumstantial evidence at best. I can tell you where the Epstein client list is. It's with a bank called JPMorgan Chase. Just last month, a judge approved a $365 million settlement between JPMorgan Chase and the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. And so what happened is a year ago, the victims of Jeffrey Epstein sued JPMorgan Chase because Jeffrey Epstein was a big client there. The victims say that JPMorgan Chase facilitated the transfers, human trafficking transfers. Well, JPMorgan Chase just agreed to pay $365 million to avoid going to trial. Here's the kicker. JPMorgan Chase has admitted to the Treasury Department that they did facilitate over $1 billion in human trafficking transfers. And guess what? You can't just transfer money to no one, and you can't receive money from no one. So JPMorgan Chase knows the clients. They know who transferred $1 billion to Jeffrey Epstein. Well, they can tell us who they are.
And Seamus, just because of the gravity of this, I haven't personally confirmed that, neither has the network. But I mean, there are obviously court records, and I've read a lot of these headlines to that. And to the point on that, Vicky, which is like I said it in the beginning of the monologue, he's trafficked children to no one.
Right. Well, you know, there is, I mean, I will give a shout out to Senator Ron Wyden, who is asking for the tax returns and tax details of the billionaire Leon Black, who has stepped down from running Apollo, the private equity, because it came out that he had paid $100 million, more than $100 million to Jeffrey Epstein for what he said was tax advice. And I think, Congress is involved in at least trying to get to the bottom of that. And to what Seamus was just saying about JPMorgan, I think the other thing that's really fascinating about what came out in the discovery there, and I suspect JPMorgan was anxious to put a lid on it and not go to trial, was, how all the senior executives at the bank knew that there were red flags around Jeffrey Epstein and kept banking him anyway because he was at the center of all these other very rich men who they thought they could get as clients. I mean, it's an extraordinary insight into how power really works.
Right. Well, Seamus, I want to give you the last 30 seconds here.
Yeah, sure. And I understand you have to verify that. It has been widely reported. The New York Times covered it. It's in the court documents. JPMorgan said, quote, human trafficking, end quote, transfers. And then they gave those records to the Treasury Department. And so the Treasury Department also knows who the clients are.
Yeah, I'm not doubting you. I just, for legal coverage here, I want to make sure.
I understand.
Yeah, so
it's big news. That's where the client list is. It's big news.
Yeah, and like, look, I've read a lot of things on this. I've covered it very, very intensely, and I think that, you guys are the perfect panel for this. So I appreciate you coming on and taking these big steps to try to expose something that should have been out, I don't know, Vicky, 20 years ago. So thank you. Same as Spooner. Vicky Ward, appreciate it.